everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about how I became a shopaholic or shopping addict, whatever you want to call it, because I feel like when I'm doing my declutter videos, which I'm going to continue doing, and when I'm talking about my no-buy year, it's important to kind of know the context, and I did talk about it partly in my no-buy year intro, but I feel like there's more to dive into. I've just been thinking about it. Like, obviously it's February, it's so hard for me to say that, February 12th. That sounds, I said it too much, now it sounds really weird. So we're still just getting started, but obviously that's a decent amount of time to be reflecting. Some things have become clear to me, and I don't know, I just want to share like why I think I became this way, and maybe it'll spark some internal reflection for you, and maybe people will relate, maybe they won't. But for me, I think one of the main places where I learned these behaviors was obviously my parents and just childhood in general. So kind of the first thing was that I lived in a pretty suburban area. There weren't too many things to do as a kid, like other than, I mean, there were parks, so like we could go to a park, but then when you're in middle school, I feel like you kind of transition from play dates to hanging out, and we would always go to the mall. Like, that was our hangout. And so it kind of became ingrained in my mind that shopping was an activity and shopping was a hobby. I would go window shopping, I would go perusing malls really often as a way to hang out with friends. And when that mentality, I feel like I didn't obviously at the time realize that I was training myself into the thought pattern that shopping was not something you do on occasion, it's something that you do for fun whenever you want to hang out with someone. And that continued throughout high school. Like, once I got my driver's license, we would always just go to the mall. And eventually when I started working, then I could finally buy the things that I had been looking at for, at that point, 5-6 years. And that was definitely a very slippery slope. The second thing is, I feel like I grew up in the era where, like, the earlier half of my life, I would not buy things online. But if I did, it would be like in a catalog. I was not really going online shopping, and often I would only go once a year shopping to get like back to school stuff because I was growing. And in the second half of my life, like middle school, high school, blah blah blah, it became a way to escape the world. And I just fell into the habit, and part of that's prompted by the fact that my parents did. I think my dad was always so in awe with the convenience, especially of Amazon, like when that sort of took off, that we would have boxes at our house every day. And my mom also shops very often. It hasn't affected me in like a financial way to where I'm like, I have ever been worried financially because of their shopping, but it has totally normalized overspending. I don't think I ever really thought about it, but there were many instances where things were purchased that didn't need to be purchased just because it's fun to shop. I feel like that's kind of the very, very origin story of where this happened. And then part two is that I have really bad OCD, and my whole life I've had a very collector's issue, going back to like elementary school, where I loved to collect stationery, and then it was books, and then you can track my OCD through these patterns essentially. And very quickly it became makeup, and that has kind of stuck. When I discovered beauty YouTube, I felt like a connection to people online if I had the same things they did. And obviously now more than ever, I feel every video is essentially an ad. It's very rare that I find one that isn't. When you're seeking connection, even if it's just purchasing the same thing, it kind of made me feel connected. I don't know if that makes sense. In middle school and high school, I was bullied a lot. In middle school especially, I remember like there was a girl who just decided not to speak to me for the whole year. And I remember not wanting to go to school. Like, if you have been bullied, you know the feeling. Like, it is the worst feeling in the world to feel like people don't like you and you don't know why, or you don't have anyone. And I made a friend because we both were using baby lips, like the lip balm, and that I feel like reaffirmed that makeup meant connection.
Hey guys, I'm going to be doing a really cool tutorial with the BH Party Girl palette.
At that point, like, I became even more obsessed because it felt like I finally had someone who understood me because of this connection to makeup. In high school, I was bullied again, and I felt like one of the only things that was a routine and was something that was mine was doing my makeup, and it kind of felt like a protective layer. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else, but it also just felt like such a form of escape. Like, I would be dreading school, but I could go home, log on to YouTube, watch people talk about beauty products, and feel like there was someone who understood, like, something I got joy from. And I would also just escape into the world of my makeup collection. Like, I would lay out all my lipsticks, play with all of them, swatch all of them, lay out all my palettes, put everything on my eyes. I just felt like an escape and a form of art. And then it became less about art and more about buying. When that switch happened, I wasn't aware that it was happening, but I cared less about the items when they arrived. I wasn't playing with them as much. I wasn't using them. I wasn't enjoying them. I was just looking for what the next thing was. And the more upset and sad I got and depressed, the more I wanted packages arriving every day so I didn't have to feel that way. And so I guess I wanted to share this just because as I go into my collection, like, it's very excessive. But this was not, like, Rome wasn't built overnight. My collection was not built overnight. This is not the result of me going crazy for 1 year. This is the result of like 8 years, probably 10 years of bad habits, using makeup to escape, using shopping as a form of a way to feel joy. And I also wanted to talk about why haven't I done anything in the past, and the reason is not, the truth of the matter is that I have tried. Like, I have tried and failed to handle my shopping issues for years. Since I was in my teens, I knew that I was kind of losing control of it, but I didn't care enough to change my habits. I just kind of hoped they would change. Like, I didn't actually do anything. And it became evident to me that it was an issue when I started not having any savings and a steady income. So that's why this year it's like really become an all or nothing situation for me. I just wanted to share because I know it's kind of an embarrassing thing to talk about, but I also know there are people out there who completely understand, and even if your reasons are completely different than mine, like, I understand and I don't judge you for being in a situation where you have overconsumed. I also did want to share, like, I am going to be posting a few makeup videos soon because that is something that I find so much joy in. But the goal of any videos coming up are not going to be like to try and sell you anything. Like, I think I'm gonna do a video about my favorite products from the products I used the most in the past year. And I don't want that to be jarring to any of my viewers because obviously it's a little bit of a different content. I just feel like I have so much stuff that I love and I want to be able to share what makes me happy without it coming across as you should buy this now. So yeah, just a heads up, like, some of that content will be coming and it's going to become more of a mixture of like makeup and beauty and also my thoughts. And obviously it's not going to be new makeup because I'm not buying anything. The next video you're going to see is my body, hair, skincare declutter. So stay tuned for that. And if you feel comfortable sharing in the comments like kind of how you got into this situation, feel free to do so.